guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy who's going to share his story about, well, pretty much he's another one of these guys that has lived and survived with the wife from hell, the marriage from hell. And he's going to share his story about all the things that he did wrong, the mistakes he made, how he didn't obviously trust his gut, all those things. Married this gal anyway, and all the crap that he put up with to try to save the marriage, be a good husband, be a good father, do things that he thought his religious faith wanted him to do, all those types of things. And she just was, it was bait and switch. It was just a disaster. And all the wrong things she did to him and disrespect. And you can use your imagination as the things I'm referring to, and you'll see as I get into this. But ultimately, guys, you're going to see eventually enough will be enough. And this guy will end it, put her in her place, and move on. And start over and do very well. So for all you guys that have been in bad breakups and situations, this will, hit home because, you've survived it too. Now this is another guy. And for any of you guys that are currently struggling and you're unhappy in a relationship or marriage or whatever, this can give you hope that even through the worst crap you can go through, you can come through and survive and live well. But this is also going to help you guys that are relationship guys, that you can hear this guy's story, the things he puts up with, the mindset and all this, so that you don't make the same mistakes that he does. That's what all you guys that send me your stories do. You try to share your stories. You have the guts and you're brave enough to email me your stories, share it with this whole community to help guys out. And I thank you for that. That's awesome because you really are doing a service. I mean, I'm reading these stories. I'm sharing my opinions on these things, but you guys provide a lot of the things that I go over. And if it wasn't for you guys, I couldn't help out as many guys as I do. I could do articles and everything like that, and I can do things on my opinions, but the real stories, so I really thank you for that. Okay, but anyhow, guys, I'm going to get to this story here. You're going to see more what I'm talking about. He says, Dear SSM, I've been listening to you for a while and heard some of the pieces that men write about. What I can tell you from my own experience and what others have written is that there is an opportunity to heal and grow after a shitty marriage or destructive relationship. My story goes as follows. I married my college girlfriend soon after we graduated college and started our careers. You should have waited, my friend. You should have waited till you were well into the careers, really got to know each other in a real life situation. Then maybe if you were dead serious, thought about it. Not at 23, 24, 25. Too early. And I know you know this, but I'm making that clear. I saw her as a hardworking, determined, and beautiful woman. We were both raised in the Catholic faith, and I thought our values in terms of family were aligned. My faith would be tested. That is the theme through this whole story here. And oh, dear Lord, his faith is tested. It started out subtly at first with my family and friends. Well, that's how they all start out, very subtly. I came from a small town living and had relatives with farming and blue-collar backgrounds. They worked hard and enjoyed life. Sometimes I meant drinking a few and having a rousing time laughing, joking, and sharing stories. I loved that part of my life, my extended family, and all the times we would have together. She despised it and became judgmental. Rather than accepting it, she told me that if I ever acted that way my relatives did, she would leave. Looking back, I wish I had showed her the door. That would be the start of a double standard that was in her development. Dude, double standard doesn't even come close to describing what she is going to do. But dude, this was your family. This is what you were used to. You loved your family. You had a great time. It sounds like you guys were cool. I'd hang out with them. I'm not a big drinker, but I'd come over for a beer and have a good time. And if she's not liking this, that was a big sign to just cut her loose. Find a girl that would like your family and have a good time with it. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that at this time. Right before we got married, she started turning into a Bridezilla, another sign from the universe. Everything had to be perfect. She would accept no rabble-rousing with my family and friends. She even said that if she smelled a stitch of alcohol in my breath during the reception, she would walk. Also at the reception, I was not to leave the dance floor. So she's giving you orders and commands? No self-respecting man is going to let his lady, girlfriend, fiance, bride, wife, tell him and give him commands and make demands. Because you know what those gals end up doing to guys that obey their commands? They treat them worse and worse and worse, and they start cheating on them. as you're going to see. I chalked this up to nerves and figured that what woman wouldn't want the perfect day? You're making excuses for her. However, it became far from perfect. One family friend from my side tried to play a funny shoe-tying joke. She blew up and shouted insults at him. I'd say, all right, now that we're husband and wife, I'm going to tell you as a husband, don't blow up my family members. You're going to cut that bullshit out right now. Didn't work out that way. Later on during the reception, while I was on the dance floor, I could not find her. I went off to look for her and found her outside smoking with some of her dirt friends from high school. I let it roll off and we got through the night. Got through the night? Shouldn't the wedding actually be a fun thing? But got through the night? And so you're not allowed to have fun, have some drinks with your family, some beers and all, but you can go out there and smoke when that's far, far worse and disgusting. Married life seemed to settle in and we were off in our careers. We seemed like we were on our way to becoming the power couple. Our careers were taking off, we were paying off our college debts and moving towards the purchase of our house. About 3 years later, after the wedding, we had our first child. After a couple years after that, we had a second. It was challenging, but I truly enjoyed being a dad. And you're a great guy, and I know this from reading your story, and a good dad. And those kids are lucky to have you, especially all the BS you endure because you love them. Things changed drastically about 6 to 8 months after our second child was born. She began to see me as her equal. She degraded me, told me I wasn't doing my share of the work around the house, and I was not performing in the sack to her standards. Her standards? Does she have a chart in the wall listing her standards? I'm going to guess probably after child number 2, she was close to getting to the big 3-0 and she started panicking. She also admitted to not being happy and that I was not doing enough for her. Well, they're never happy. And because her happiness was on the line, she was going to start doing things to make herself happy. So instead of communicating it like healthy adults, she's just going to be pissed off and go do things to make herself happy. Define what that's supposed to be, honey. I'd say, well, you know what? You're not making me happy. How about this, 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 and this? This meant going out to happy hour after work. And at that time, she took up smoking, which I had not seen her do since the wedding. Happy hour became 3 to 4 times a week, and the nights out got longer and longer. Happy hour 3 to 4 times a week, she picked up smoking. Is this the same girl that gave you a hard time for enjoying being in the house with your family, not a bunch of strangers at the bar, but with your family, kicking back, having some beers, laughing, and having a good time? But now she's doing it at the bar with a bunch of strangers. That's a hypocrite alert. We started to argue more frequently, and home life became extremely stressful. This is not worth it, guys. This is when this guy, in the beginning, when she was having an issue with his family, that should have a big sign to part ways. Then her acting like a bridezilla prior to saying I do, another sign from the universe. There are signs out there. There are red flags. We just choose to ignore them because of our different, how we're raised, our values, all that. This all sound worth it to you guys? Anyhow, most fights were about her late night bar activity and drinking. The excuses I got were she was depressed, had a bad childhood, and was going through a life crisis. A life crisis? Sounds like she makes good money, you make good money, power careers, had a house, have a family. You know, there are people from parts of the world, I probably think you Americans, with your complaining about this and complaining about that, you got it pretty freaking good. And I wouldn't blame anybody for saying that right now. You know? So her going to the bar 4 times a week, that's going to fix the problems in her life? What a load of crap. She also drank, she also judged me for being too boring to her. You mean you were being a stable, responsible, good husband and good father? That's too boring? She sounds like she's gone back to her carousel phase in college. Also, she drank with other men because she could only be friends with them. She saw other women as being too catty to have a relationship with them. I struggled and went along with this because of my Christian upbringing. I didn't want my children to grow up in a divorced household. So now we're getting into this. His religious faith is very important to him, and I respect that. And I respect anybody's religious faith. But the problem is that his faith is causing him to his faith, or his interpretation of his faith, whatever you want to call it, is causing him to stick in a situation that's causing him a great deal of pain. Okay? And I get that he's obviously, because he's mentioning because of the kids, he doesn't want them to grow up in a divorced household and doesn't want them to have pain. I get that. But you have to understand, kids are going to observe this. And if they observe too many years or a whole growing up of the mom and dad fighting and hating each other's guts and all sorts of turmoil, there's a strong possibility that those kids will be in relationships just like that. So if you truly love your kids, they can either have short-term pain of the divorce or end up in situations just like what you're doing. You got to really look at that. The more frustrated and unhappy she was, the harder I worked to try and make up for it. I was working my job, doing most of the child care, and doing more than my fair share around the house. He's doing more to make up for it. She's more unhappy, so he's doing more. It's called appeasement. When in human history has appeasement ever worked on a bully or an aggressor? Never. You don't reward bad behavior by doing nice things for them. That's going to cause that person, that bully, that whatever, to lose more respect for you and keep doing the awful things. See what I mean? There's a lot of parallels and similarities to the stories I do, guys. You can't, she's treating you like crap. You got to stand up for yourself. You don't take it. And there's nothing more powerful than walking away, as you will see towards the end of this story when this guy finally has enough. Walking away. It is amazing the attitude adjustment like that will have on these gals. One Saturday morning, I was up with the kids, getting them for breakfast and cleaning up after them. About a couple of hours later, after being out all night, she got out of bed and sauntered down the stairs. I know she'd been out the evening before, and this became common at the start of the weekend. Bro, you should have been laying down the law from the beginning. This is unacceptable behavior. We are a family. We have children. You're going to be home with these kids. If you have to do your happy hour maybe once a week, but we're going to talk. We're going to work this out like adults. We're going to communicate. Not this, you being out all the time, and happy hour and all that. The problem is, she's a piece of crap. We can all agree that. And I haven't even scratched the surface how much of a piece of crap she is. Wait till I really get into this, guys. We're 12 minutes into the video. Wait till I get to another 10 minutes of this shit. But also, this guy enabled her behavior. And I gotta be honest here. I can tell he's a great guy, but I know he knows this, but he enabled her behavior. He wasn't strong enough to lay down the law, stand up for himself. If you don't do that, guys, bullies, will walk all over you and do awful things to you. Anyhow, Bridezilla gets up. Says she'd been out the evening before. This was common, blah, blah, blah. However, this one was different. She asked me if I would love her no matter what. Uh-oh. I jokingly asked if she made out with a guy or something. She did more than that. She ended up drinking her ass full and climbing into a guy's truck and had you-know-what with him. There you go. I'm sure this wasn't the first time, but she's admitting it now. We all saw that coming. I was shocked and embarrassed. I felt trapped with 2 little kids and no place to go. When I look back, I should have packed myself and the kids and drove to my parents' house to clear my mind. Instead, I stayed because I wasn't sure what she would do if I kicked her out. Hey, who cares? Hours later and a few confrontations later, on that same Saturday, she concluded that she was raped. So she was forced to drink all that alcohol and forced into the truck and all that. I'm going to blame him for what I did. Now, is it impossible that that could happen to somebody? Of course not. But given her track record and history, very hard time believing that was the case, as was him, and you're going to see in a moment. But when I think back to it, no one forced her out that night, poured drinks down her throat, and forced her into that guy's vehicle. I told her she needed to go to the police and get tested because there's no way I was fathering someone else's kid. She was also very hesitant, but eventually did both. The police investigation concluded that it was consensual. Of course it was. And tests came back negative for pregnancy and any diseases, so there was no arrest. I thought maybe this was her rock bottom, but this was farthest from it. Yeah, this is going to get worse. You should have ended with her, my man. I know you know this now, but all the misery you're going to deal with after this? I know you want to protect your kids. I know your religious faith was important to you, but you were suffering. No one should go through this. After a few weeks, the nights out drinking resumed. I cannot believe you allowed her to keep doing this, man. One weekend when my parents were over for a weekend visit to watch the kids because I had gotten her and I tickets to a college football game, she decided that Friday evening that she did not want to be stuck at home with me and my parents. She went out drinking with work colleagues, which I am sure were more guy friends. At 4 in the morning, I woke up to the phone ringing. I was even more surprised when I was alone in bed. It was her asking me to pick her up. Apparently, she got busted for a DUI. I had to wake my parents up to get their car keys and move their car so I could drive to town and get her out of jail. What a winner. At this point, my parents were furious. We ended up going to the game, but it was one of the most awkward times of my life. I was looking forward to having a good time, and she ruined it because she wanted to drink her ass full. As soon as we got home from the game, she ran for cover in the bathroom. My parents realized the awkward time, packed up and decided to leave while she was in the bathroom. Before leaving, my dad looked at me in the eye and asked me, why do I put up with this shit? I had no answer. You know, I bet you'll remember that the day you die, about your dad looking you in the eye and saying that. Because he knew. He's like, "Why, son, why? Why are you doing this to yourself?" We waded through it after an effect of the DUI. We had to pay her fines, the increased car insurance, her legal fees, and her rental of a car breathalyzer. What do you mean we paid? She should be paying for the fines, extra car insurance, legal fees, and her rental of the car breathalyzer. Not you. That should come out of her money. None of this we BS. She continued to double down on her excuses: depression, poor childhood, and the life crisis. Oh, get out of here. She even added a couple more excuses to the list. Get-togethers with extended family became awkward and embarrassing. In that time, she would run off to be alone until meal times. Her excuses for those disappearances were because she was feeling claustrophobic or that my family was too loud. Oh, but she can go off to the bars where it's noisy and full of a loud bunch of drunk people, but that's okay. These excuses were a bunch of BS, and she had no problem going out to the bars and groping her boyfriends. I wonder where the claustrophobia and sensitivity to noise were at when she was at her happy hours. Correct. Now, guys, quick intermission. I'm sure you can see the sun going down behind me here. I know that's obviously not very visually appealing, but the day is ending, and I got to get these videos in, so just bear with me here. You can see a glimpse of me in the thing there. The sun still goes down really early here. I mean, it's 3:30 right now, Eastern time. Anyway, a short time later, we took the kids to Disney World. Oh, God, this crazy woman in Disney World. I thought this would be a good time to heal as a family and mend the relationship. There's no going back, my man. Boy, was I wrong. On our last day at Disney, she flew into this angry tirade and accused me of ruining her vacation. Accused you of ruining her vacation? How about her ruining everything from the moment you said I do? In the heat of the argument, she confessed to hating me. If there was a straw that broke my back, that was it. We let things settle. We made our way back from Disney on the plane. I was silent on the flight and the drive back to the house. The hate outburst was enough for me. After it sunk in, I no longer cared about doing anything to make her happy or appease her. Praise the Lord. Can I get an amen? That's the problem. You've been appeasing her all this time. I didn't care if she stayed out all night and didn't come home. No wonder why we were having problems in bed. It was because I thought I was marrying one woman and instead got this cigarette-toting, selfish, manipulative, lying, fat, disgusting drunk. I was definitely not attracted to this. She wasn't even close to the woman I thought I was marrying from post-college. Bait and switch, my friend. Bait and switch. After a few weeks later, after discussions with my siblings, I was in a divorce lawyer's office. Awesome. It's about damn time, dude. I was a terrible wreck and could not believe I was seeking divorce counsel. Never would I have imagined that since I had a childhood where I had a mom and dad supporting me. I put up with all the nights of her late-night drinking and her dumpster rat boyfriends and me being alone to take care of the kids. There were too many mornings of me getting up with the kids to get them ready for the day while she pushed the snooze button numerous times before finally getting up to take a power shower. I put up with the one-night stand that I knew of and her DUI. I almost sacrificed my career for her buyer's remorse hookups at the bars that she was trying to distance herself from. And I put up with the occasional threats of offing herself during many arguments. You did put up with all that stuff. You did what you had to do. I disagree with you enduring all that crap, but you tried. Well, you should feel no shame, no remorse, no blame, nothing, no guilt, nothing for ending this thing. Because it's not only ruining your life, it's ruining your kid's life. After I had the divorce papers served, I couldn't believe how quickly the switch had flipped. Instead of the crappy treatment I had received in the past, now it was, "Oh, I love you." Suddenly, she could miraculously get up with the kids each morning, but the gesture didn't seem to, no matter what, Didn't seem to matter as I already knew how to get the kids up and ready for daycare and school. And she started coming home from work at night. However, the more she poured this on, the angrier I became and realized how terribly I'd been taken advantage and played. Right, notice you served the divorce papers or whatever, and all of a sudden, boom, flipping the script. She could have done it all along. What I tell you about the power of walking away, guys, the power of ending it. They don't like rejection, they don't like being abandoned, they don't like being ditched. See? If he had acted this way early on, right? I guarantee the guys that she was hooking up with weren't the nice guy types like this guy here. They were the guys that did the opposite of him, and she was after them. It all came down to choice. She could have all done this all along, but she hid blindly. She hid behind her lousy excuses and chose to relive that single life. For the most part, she seemed like a deer in the headlights with her changed morning and evening routines because she didn't seem to know what to do. She must have thought that the gesture of making that kind of effort in the mornings and evenings would be enough to win me over. Ha! You're not fooling this guy. She could have done these things all along, but instead she gave in to her selfish desires to go out and play the field, reliving her college drinking days and teenage rebellious years. Suddenly, after being served divorce papers, the marriage to her became worth fighting for. I saw her change of attitude as nothing more than smoke and mirrors. I wanted nothing more to do with her. I only wanted her out of my life. I was even more driven to press forward on the divorce. Good. Thank the Lord you did not buy this whole song and dance from her, because some guys would. So good for you. The lawyer I hired was good. I filed for full custody and ended up settling for 50-50 shared. One of the good things that did come out of this was that she was out of my house. The bad thing was I felt for my kids and had to settle for 50-50 custody. That still dismays me to this day, how a system can award that to a disgraceful woman who chose her booze and some dumpster rat guys over her own kids. You're preaching to the choir here, bro. We all know this. It's BS. You're an incredibly good man and good father, and she's a piece of crap, and she gets to have half the custody, half the time with the kids. That's complete crap. I did everything I thought a reasonable parent should do, and it just doesn't seem like it mattered. This is what I didn't want for them. Divorce also extends beyond the immediate family. My parents and siblings were by my side throughout the process. Good. As for her parents, there's no love lost for them. After the divorce was about to be finalized, I learned that her parents were calling my parents during the evenings their daughter was out on her pub crawls, explained they had not raised her that way and they would support me. However, as soon as I had the divorce paper served to her, the so-called support seemed to disappear. The last call I got from her mom was prior to the final divorce proceedings, where she talked to me about the weather. I took this as an act of cowardice and betrayal on her parents' part and told her soon-to-be ex that I did not want to hear from her parents again. I did receive a final email from her mother telling me how disappointed she was in me. Pfft, delete. The message I got from it was that they lied to my parents about supporting me and they condoned their daughter's behavior. After that, I blocked her parents' email and cut off the relationship. I had no need for people in my life to say one thing and do something else. They can have their life in denial. Good. Cut them off. These days, I'm happy in my career. I've gotten a promotion and continue to enjoy my job. I'm even taking online courses to get certifications. Good for you, bro. You're moving forward in the world. You're improving yourself. Self-improvement. That's the key. Purpose. I love my time with my kids. I coach their soccer teams, which allowed me more time with them, even on the days when I did not have them. And I have met an incredible woman that went through the same struggles that I did, and only she was married to a selfish man. Well, maybe that selfish man can go be with your ex. But then again, that would mean that he'd be around your kids. You don't want that. So scratch that. Never mind what I said. That experience with the wife from hell brought me closer to my family again. Sometimes I come home to an empty, quiet house, and that is okay. I come home from work knowing there is no argument or tension waiting for me. Ah, the peace and quiet. It is grand. I relax and do things I want to do. I continue to run and work out. Running was one of the few things I did as an escape while being married to that cheating bar trash. So far, I competed in a number of half marathons and a few 10Ks. Dude, that's awesome. Good for you. I still do martial arts training, and I even got back to my college weight. I have nightmares on rare occasions. I'm still married to her. Bro, I would be having nightmares my whole life if I was married to that. So that's understandable. The refreshing thing about waking up from all this is that I'm not in the life anymore. I wake up and realize that the woman beside me is not the manipulative, drunk, fake victim that now is not that. It's not that reality anymore. I fell for the bait and switch and paid the price. However, now it's been reduced to an occasional bad dream. It is possible to recover and have a good life. As for her, I think she's on her second or third boyfriend. Probably 10th boyfriend, but who can keep track? The only conversations we have are about the kid is done by computer to make sure everything is documented. Smart. Text, email, anything that can have a record of. Aside from that, don't even talk to her. Because there'll be drama. Guaranteed. I made it clear to her that I do not want any type of face-to-face contact with her. I do see her on occasion at the kids' school and athletic events. After seeing her at such events, I know where all the booze and cigarettes went because she has put on more weight and looks like shit. Well, I'm sure that's satisfying as you are looking good and got back to your college weight and you work out and take care of yourself. And I'm sure your girl looks good and is pretty and takes care of herself. Meanwhile, your ex looks like a piece of crap. And by the way, all those guys that paid attention to her, were fooling around with her when you were married, no one's going to want to touch her anymore now. She looks like, Jabba the Hutt, a smoky Jabba the Hutt. Karma, karma, karma. She earned every bit of where she is. It feels good to know that I'm not under the same roof as her. She's not allowed in my house and in my life. I still have bad feelings from time to time about the divorce and what it means to my faith. I'm the one who filed for the divorce and annulled the marriage through the church. However, I have to remind myself that while I did that, I'm not the one who walked away from the marriage and broke the vows. I still live by my faith and remain connected to my church. Bro, you did everything you could to make it work. And did a lot of things you shouldn't have, but you thought you should have because of, how a lot of guys think things ought to be. But you shouldn't ever feel guilty or anything with regards to your religious faith. Okay, I know your religious faith. Well, you mentioned, okay, you said you're Catholic. Okay, fine. I wasn't raised Catholic, so I don't know about that element. I was raised in the Lutheran church. And, but anyhow, you shouldn't feel bad about it. You tried. It was miserable. That's all I got to say. If I could pass on any learnings from my experience, it would be to give more time before jumping into a marriage. I say that all the time, guys. If you're going to do it, which I disagree with, but if you're going to do it, years and years and years. He did this when he got out of college or shortly after. Late 20s, maybe 30. Really spend years with her, getting to know everything about her personality, her family, all that. And if she has issue with your family like she did, gone. If she has issues with your friends, gone. If she has all these other red flags, gone. You got to do that. You can't rush into anything. And he's absolutely right. He knows now. Make sure to take the time to really know the woman you're in the relationship with and don't ignore the red flags. There are good ones out there, but be patient. There are good ones out there, but they're becoming more and more rare to have old-fashioned good values. Rare. Very rare. Lastly, work on making yourself the best you can be that you can be. Don't sacrifice or cut short to make a woman happy because happiness is an internal, individual choice we all make for ourselves. Sincerely, Life from the Mend. Yes. In other words, self-improvement, purpose. Keep focusing on yourself. Keep chasing excellence, if you will. Becoming the best you can be in all areas. And it'd be amazing how it makes you feel and how that can have a ripple effect on the other things in your life in a positive way. So that's good. But bro, you have gone through hell. And yes, I'm going to be fair here, and you brought a lot of this onto yourself, but I will say this, you were young, okay? You probably got married to her in mid-20s. What the hell do you know? I mean, let's be honest here. You were young. I wouldn't say you were a kid, but you were not far from it. And I guess now you're probably early to mid-30s. You can make your life whatever you want it to be. You got a clean slate. So good for you. Keep doing what you're doing. Your story will help others out there. So if you get some shit in the comments section, which you probably will. Don't take it too personally, but your story will help people, so thank you, okay? But just don't ever make those same mistakes again, okay? But a lot of guys do things like this, and they don't know. This is why I do what I do, to share these stories so guys don't make the same mistakes of appeasement and all these other things, thinking that it's just going to make the situation better. It doesn't. It makes it way worse. But this guy went through hell, survived, and I hope maybe one day you get full custody of the kids. That would be awesome because you're a great dad. So just keep doing what you're doing, learn from your mistakes, and there you go. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. I hope you're not blinded by the freaking sun back there. Be sure to comment down below and as you think about this, be sure to, if you have a great story you'd like to share, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it later on down the road. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.